Oil man Frank Phillips' legacy to Oklahoma, the Woolaroc Museum, Lodge, and 37-acre nature preserve, has been enjoyed by visitors for some 80 years. What made his gift to Oklahoma possible is now explained in a new eye-catching exhibit called Century of Oil, 1850 to 1950.
We picked the year, the century of 1850 to 1950 for a specific reason, because that really spanned the period of time of the oil industry that would have impacted Mr. Phillips' life.
Bob Frazier, who is the chief executive officer for Woolaroc, along with the museum director, created and developed the new edition.
If it wasn't for oil, Woolaroc wouldn't be here. It was Mr. Phillips' success in the oil business that brought him out here to build the Lodge home, and then a few years later to start building this museum. So we have a direct connection and always will have a direct connection with oil. And we felt like we needed to do a better job of helping share the story and share the history of the oil industry with our guests that we have here every year.
Frank and his brother L.E. drilled 3 unsuccessful wells before hitting on number 4 with the last of their money. They went on to hit 81 consecutive producing wells, and Phillips Petroleum Company was on its way.
Oil is a big part, of Oklahoma and Bartlesville, and I want my kids to have this so they can, learn about all that and the ranches and the Frank Phillips and their family. I want it to be there so they'll know about the history of it.
Here, children and adults can see an 1897 rope tool rig, which shows the rudimentary technology that wildcatters like Frank Phillips had to deal with in the search to strike oil, a resource that would later become known as black gold.
Oil back in the mid to late 1800s was almost more of a nuisance than it was a good thing. Then they started using it as a lubricant. It wasn't really powering anything for quite some time. Once the turn of the century came and we were into the early 1900s, it started all of a sudden being a bit more intriguing as to what the value was of it. Then with the help of Henry Ford and the Model T, World War I, and the need for petroleum really became big. Well, that's when the industry really exploded and took off.
Frazier says in just 4 years, from 1900 to 1904, the amount of oil pumped in this region increased from 6,000 to more than 11 million barrels of oil a day. Keeping the wells pumping back then was hard work and sometimes very dangerous. At this exhibit, tourists can see a fully furnished home typically used by oil field employees back in the early 1900s. In 1932, this is what a gasoline delivery truck looked like. Phillips pump stations of yesteryear have also been recreated here. Visitors like Dennis Gillum, a history buff, are amazed to think of the risks Frank Phillips took to be a trailblazer, not only on the ground, but in the air, as a pilot of this single-engine airplane.
Think about that. This airplane flew from California to Hawaii. It's got one engine, over 3,000 miles of water. You got to be awfully brave to dare that kind of thing because there's no backup plan with this.
This exhibit is just one of many here at Woolaroc that keeps people coming back time and again. Near Bartlesville, I'm Liz Exon, the Oklahoma News Report.